Ladies and gentlemen, I am SidAlpha. Fair warning, this is not a news video. It is not a journalistic piece of content, and as such will not be following that style of format. This is more the speed of content that I used to make more often and I'd fallen away from. Something that I regret because I actually do sort of miss doing more of my old content. I'm even getting the urge to go find some random indie game and create a presentation video. Hopefully soon I'll be able to have the time to actually do that. No, this is more of me just sitting down and talking. No list of facts, no bullet points to keep me on track, just a concept in my head surrounding what needs to be discussed and why. Those that enjoy the facts and opinion nature of my more new style content probably won't appreciate this video much, and if you want to move on to another video or a video on someone else's channel, then trust me, you won't hurt my feelings. I am, at the end of the day, nothing more than a mook with a mic that is attempting to inform and, to a smaller extent, entertain. That's all anyone can or should expect from me, and I'm fine if you feel like this sort of video will not fit the bill for some of you. Now, a while back, I discussed the controversy surrounding Metro Exodus and the timed distribution exclusive agreement they signed with Epic Games to put the Exodus on the Epic storefront for the PC market for a period of 1 calendar year. Now, in that video, I briefly touched on why paid exclusives are not consumer-friendly, and I also took the time to explain both why the developers made this decision and why the Epic storefront also made the decision and the thought processes that typically go into that. I also explained how this was similar to what we see with paid exclusives on consoles, but also how the timed distribution exclusivity is fundamentally different. Now, a large enough portion of the viewers of that video took exception to the statements I made in that video. Some thought I missed the point entirely, some thought that I was defending Epic Games. I even had some people attempting to claim that I was being paid off by Epic Games of all things. The words betrayal and shill were thrown about more than once. Now, I did promise repeatedly that I would produce a follow-up video. Some of my anti-fans, the people that absolutely loathe me and yet watch every single one of my videos regardless, have vitriolically claimed that I would come back with an apology because that is apparently what I do in their eyes, yeah? To their minds, I constantly make mistakes, I constantly get things wrong, and then I come back with an apology and a promise to do better even though they feel that I never do better. That I simply make those claims in order to mollify people and I'm evil incarnate and anti-consumer scum myself. Granted, thankfully for the entirety of humanity, that those that think that way are few and far between, but there were most definitely a number of people that thought I missed the point. I didn't. Naturally, I'm fully capable of recognizing and acknowledging why so many people were upset. It's really not that difficult to comprehend when you actually think about it. Now, I took this as an opportunity to let those that wished it to be able to speak up and express their own concerns, and they were all about what I expected. You see, one thing that I will admit I could have handled better was my explaining the thought processes that go into the decisions that Epic Games have been making. I treated the situation as an all things being equal scenario, but when you look at it, things most certainly are not equal, not in most respects. Some people were upset that those in charge of making this decision for Metro Exodus were straight up wrong to sell the game for a time on Steam only to pull the plug and up and move to Epic. They would be correct. The decision should have been made a long time ago. This late in the game, barely a month prior to the release, doesn't offer any reasonable or tangible benefit out of bulking up Epic's storefront to the exclusion of other distribution platforms and to line the pockets of the developers. The game was already made by that point, and at most they would be working on a day one patch, which apparently the game is in desperate need of patching, but that's neither here nor there. There is no reason for a timed exclusive to be able to produce additional content or anything like that, something that gamers would be able to get behind. Now, other people were upset, as I suspected some would be, purely on the basis that the game wasn't on Steam and that they would not buy the game if they had to deal with another launcher, Epic's or otherwise, that wasn't Steam's. For them, there's not much that I can say. They have their opinions and they have a right to those opinions. I won't attempt to dissuade them from a standpoint that I personally consider to be a bit silly, but I won't deride them for it either. Then there was, of course, the issue with the Epic launcher itself. Now, with the recent compromises in security over the past year or two, of which I can find 3 separate instances, one of them fairly recent, it's even been reported that they don't meet the requirements of the General Data Protection Regulation, or GDPR, which is the European Union's data protection and privacy regulations. And throw into the mix the fact that the Epic launcher is missing multiple key features and quality of life necessities, such as the ability to play games offline, meaning the Epic launcher is, for all intents and purposes, acting as a form of always online DRM, or the fact that there's currently no review system in place and the one they have planned is going to be opt-in only. Now, that one I'll be perfectly honest, I like the idea, although it has nothing to do with defending the developers, publishers, or Epic Games. I like it because it's so much easier for gamers to identify which developers and publishers can be trusted with which game. Now think about it, if the publisher or the developer is unwilling to stand by their product, it is common to hide away from criticism. We've seen it all too often. Those that are unwilling to stand by their products by allowing gamers to have their say for other gamers to see and rely upon to make a better informed decision, well, now they just don't deserve our money now, do they? Now, Epic has claimed that this is because of review bombing, which I find to be complete and utter horseshit. It's a cop-out. There's really no other way to put it into my mind. Whenever you stifle information, whenever you attempt to create an environment where consumers are unable to make an informed decision on the purchases that they are making, then you do not deserve the money of those consumers. Review bombs can be a danger like Epic Games claims, there's no doubt. There's always a danger of some information being wrong and a negative hype train leaves the station and it turns into an uncontrollable beast, destroying the reputation and livelihoods of innocent developers in a perfectly good game. I'm sure that there will be one or two instances of that happening if it hasn't already. But it would be more terrible to lock down all avenues of communication for your customers to be able to speak their minds. Also, what legitimate developer that actually cares about their game that they are asking people to spend their hard-earned money on would ever wish to operate in a bubble? Not many, I can tell you that. Those that do, well, the opt-in review system will make them just that much easier to spot. But when it comes right down to it, there are legitimate and very real concerns surrounding the Epic storefront. Frankly, it's not ready. And with the resources at Epic's disposal, they absolutely should have taken an extra year to come out with a polished and feature-rich and feature-ready storefront that was all lined up to go toe-to-toe with Valve. That would be the all things being equal scenario that I was operating under in my previous video. Now, some people expect me to come back with an apology. Frankly, that's not going to happen. Even though the video was, in the minds of many, incorrect, for all intents and purposes, everything I stated in that video was correct and accurate, with the notable exception that apparently the game was cheaper on Epic and I had cited a likely scenario that was based on that incorrect price difference, and aside from that, the video was merely incomplete. You see, we're all human, whether or not we would care to admit it, and I myself have been made painfully aware of that inescapable fact in recent days. Due to the project load at my day job, I was working 100+ hour weeks, sometimes 120, 130, 140 hours, which is also why people saw so little content from me in the month of January. Now, I say that not as an excuse or out of any sort of desire for sympathy or anything like that, but more to underline the fact that a tired mind is a lazy mind. All a tired mind wants to do is rest, and as that is the case, it is extremely difficult to feel motivated to do much of anything. And that motivation, that drive, that passion is beyond crucial for a YouTuber. Even if all I'm doing is discussing a bit of news, it is still a creative process, and it does still require that core drive to be able to produce worthwhile content. Without that, a YouTuber can feel disinterested in the topic they're discussing, and you can always tell the difference too. There is a huge difference between a video that was created while the YouTuber was motivated versus when the YouTuber isn't able to marshal their passion to make good content. Now, I'm not saying that is what happened in the case with the previous video regarding Exodus and Epic, but that is exactly what happened in regards to the previous video regarding Exodus and Epic. So, I won't apologize. I won't promise to do better. I won't waste everyone's time attempting to justify myself to the exceptionally negative opinions of a select few. I think there's a healthy distance that must be maintained, and those that get so hyper-vitriolic over even the simplest of slight, whether real or imagined, do not maintain that level of distance, and that is ultimately unhealthy. But it is extremely late, and I think I've explained at least the majority of people's concerns over the Epic storefront, and I think I've been able to explain my own thoughts in the here and now to an at least passable level. Now here's hoping it does some good. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I am SidAlpha, and I'll see you next time.